I should check out Rick. Rick, like Guy and I, we are completely almost opposite ends of the political scale. And this is where maturity comes in. I can enjoy these guys, listen to them, enjoy their talent, and not agree with them politically. And that doesn't cause me to go on a hate campaign against them. You know, they're both on the right. They're both very conservative in their views, and I'm not. So it's just, it's just a difference between us. Here we go. There's one more small one here. The truth about internet trolling. And this one has a link to the article. Well, it mentions the article that I'm going to post a link to from Time Magazine. So let's listen to this.
Hi, friend, Jason Jones with you with a quick tip about internet trolls. Now, if you've ever been active in a forum, a Facebook group, Facebook page, whatever, any kind of online group, you've probably met the kind of person I'm talking about. These are those people who start arguments, they make those comments, and their only purpose is to make you and everybody else angry. Now, I'm not talking about these occasional disagreements that happen with people that might have strong points of view. Those happen, and most of us can be adult about those kinds of things. But I'm talking about your honest-to-God internet troll. That's the one who has no other purpose in life other than drawing a negative reaction from you, and they are out there. Now, there's a study that was done recently, and there's a great article on Forbes.com. I'll link to it in the comments below, by a guy named Roger Dooley, and he talks a lot about this. A lot of our assumption when it comes to the internet trolls is that in real life they're decent people, but because there's this illusion of anonymity on the internet and online, they sometimes engage in behaviors that they wouldn't otherwise do in normal life. Well, as it turns out, this just isn't the case. The people who are trolls online are trolls in real life as well. The study that Mr. Dooley talks about how people that kind of fit and do these things fit into what a lot of the psychiatrists, psychologists call the dark triad. Now, that's a spectrum of antisocial behavior. It starts with narcissism and there's something called Machiavellianism and ends up on the spectrum with something that we would call a sociopath. Now, people with these particular personalities, to some degree, gain pleasure and there's some kind of benefit that they get from the anguish and suffering of others, be it in real life or online. So when they're drawing that negative reaction out of somebody, that's exactly what they're looking for. That's the food they need for their personality. So there's only one real way to effectively deal with this type of person, and that's just not to deal with them. You can ignore them, or if your functionality allows on whatever platform you're using, you block them. The reason I say this is because always when a troll comes up, there's always this other kind of personality who wants to come in and who wants to be the voice of reason, who wants to come in and be the peacemaker and try to, show, hey, you shouldn't be like this. We can all get along, and this can be a pleasant place to be. The troll is not interested in any of this. They, honest to God, need to get a negative reaction from you. So there is not going to be any peacemaking done. And unfortunately, and this is hard for those of us who like to look and get and see the best in everybody, it's just not going to happen. So for today's tip, it's don't feed the trolls. Unfortunately, nature's against us when we try to make peace with them. It's just not going to happen. So don't feed the trolls. So, hey, if you got some value out of this video, if you know somebody who likes to, who needs to see the video, would you please consider sharing this with your friends, your family, your coworkers so they can get some value out of it too. I'm Jason Jones. I wish you health, wealth, and happiness. We'll talk to you later.
Health, wealth, and happiness, and a troll-free life, says Jason Jones. You can find him on YouTube. There's not very many views on that video, but because it mentioned the article I was talking about, I thought it would be a nice compliment. And what I'm going to do, I was going to just close the show off and keep it short, but I've got a clip here that is another example of internet trolls, and I think it was a BBC documentary. I can't remember, but it's 24 minutes long. I'm going to play the whole thing. But that's virtually going to be the end of the show, because after that's over, unless I change my mode or something, I'm just going to let the show end. But anyway, for those of you listening live, this is just going to be a 24-minute recording. You may not be interested in it, but it is interesting regarding trolls and troll behavior. So let's get to it. You've been listening to Truth on Tap, the host K-Tap Kevin A. Kierstead. And we up.
Tamsin Gregg and Catherine Kelly star in our continuing drama The Guilty tonight at 9 here on ITV. Now, though, tonight looks at the growth of online abuse and what makes a troll tick.
Tonight, the internet predators who bully, abuse and terrorise their victims.
People can see what's happening to you blatantly online, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. It goes on and on and on.
And face-to-face with the man who causes offence to thousands online.
How do you justify causing so many people distress and hurt?
It isn't my responsibility what others find upsetting. If you don't like it, turn it off.
Good evening and welcome to the Tonight programme. Millions of us live our lives online using social networking sites like Twitter and Facebook to share our thoughts and feelings. But a growing number of people using these sites are being subjected to bullying, abuse and even death threats from people they've never met. In tonight's programme, Jonathan Maitland investigates these attacks in Fear and Loathing Online.
Over 30 million people in the UK use social media sites. That's half the population. We share everything from photos to feelings to opinions. But sometimes this non-stop outpouring of expression causes offence and even fear.
If you feel angry and you want to post something angry and controversial, you don't have to go to someone's house to do it. You don't have to put your coat on to do it. You literally just have to type it and it's gone.
And it seems everyone is falling victim to it. Celebrities, politicians, pop stars, and of course us. The opportunity to say whatever you want to whoever you want has led some to take this newfound freedom too far. Hence the rise of internet trolls, those who scour the web looking for victims to offend and abuse.
The websites have lots and lots of personal accounts, so you could, in theory, directly communicate with anyone that you wanted to, and that could be a celebrity, a politician, someone with enormous power who you would never, in the past, have been able to have access to.
Be very afraid. Rape, rape, rape. Kill yourself before I do.
Caroline Criado Perez started a campaign for a woman to appear on new Bank of England notes, and it led to her being targeted viciously by a number of trolls on Twitter.
It wasn't until we won the campaign and the Bank of England announced that they were going to institute a new £10 note and Jane Austen was going to be it. It wasn't until then that I got my first rape threat. And that one rape threat turned into over 2 weeks of really violent and graphic death and rape threats. They found what they thought was my home address and started posting that all over the internet, which very luckily wasn't mine, but obviously that made me really scared because it made me realise that they were looking for my address. And every now and then I would, just break down because it just all became too much.
Misogynist.
Idiot.
Jonathan Maitland is a total...
I've got a real personal interest in this issue, actually, because I've been abused online, and although what I've had to put up with is nothing compared to what some people have endured, I've got upset about it. I know I shouldn't, but it just gets under your skin. And what I want to know is, why are people saying these horrible things online when, presumably, they wouldn't say them to your face?
To try and find out, we did a survey of 2,000 people who use social media regularly. Almost half said they were likely to be more honest online than they would be face-to-face. And 1 in 5 said they've received something they considered offensive.
People say things online that they wouldn't say to other people, or if people were present, often because they feel uninhibited, they feel safe, they feel hidden, and often also because they're doing it in a much more relaxed environment. They're not doing it in a social environment, they're doing it in their own space, often alone, and we do all sorts of things in our own space on our own that we wouldn't dream of doing in public.
Online abuse happens to many people, of course, not just those in the public eye, but the question is, how easy is it to stop the insults, taunts and threats? I want to find out why people do it, and also if it's possible to find out the identities of those who dish out this stuff.
Child molester.
Deformed hag.
Surprised your parents didn't put you down at birth.
Nicola Brooks posted a message of support on an X Factor contestant's Facebook page. It led to a torrent of abuse that's lasted over 2 years. Just tell me how it started.
It was on the official X Factor page for Frankie Kokoza, and the reason I was on the page was because of the abuse that I saw he was getting, and I made a comment sticking up for him, and they started on me, and these comments escalated within minutes, calling me a paedophile, prostitute, drug dealer, and within days that moved on. They actually made a fake profile of me as me, and it was making paedophile comments to real youngsters, real teenagers.
So this was an incredibly vicious campaign against you.
It was relentless and it was deliberate. They targeted me from the start. They clearly saw me on the X Factor page, but that's a good target. We'll bait her, we'll reel her in. And it was deliberate by an organised gang of trolls and abusers that have been operating on Facebook for years.
What do you think about the way Facebook have dealt with it?
I was using the report system, I was clicking over and over again, thinking this would stop, something would be done. And the comments would be removed, the photographs would be removed, because by now I was getting pornographic photos made of me, gore photos made of me that the trolls were posting up. And no matter how I myself reported it, tried to deal with it myself, you just feel isolated.
And what about the police? Were they any good?
The police, from day one, they really haven't wanted to know. They never wanted to investigate my case from the start.
I mean, some people will say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Your best bet is to ignore it and it'll go away, and by reacting to it you fan the flames.
I could not turn a blind eye to that. I could not ignore that. You know, simply closing your account down is not solving the problem, that's just passing it on to someone else.
Nicola instructed a lawyer and they contacted Facebook to ask for details of those trolling her. She handed this information to the authorities. Sussex police told us they understand how difficult this has been. 2 men were arrested and later released on bail, but the Crown Prosecution Service has since recommended that no charges be brought against them. Online abuse is a growing problem, and the number of convictions has trebled in the last 5 years to over 1,200. But many of the people behind this kind of abuse still manage to get away with it.
Getting caught is not inevitable at the moment. The laws are in place, but it's being policed fairly inconsistently. So yes, there is a danger, which makes it high risk, but by no sort of stretch of the imagination is it a sure thing that you will be caught or there will be any consequences.
Do you know, once you research trolling online, you realise that it's not a disparate group of people. This is a movement. They have their own catchphrases, their own emblem, they've even got their own anthem. They really do revel in it.
The more sophisticated online abusers will use proxy servers to conceal the identity of their IP address, or they'll undertake their abuse from somewhere public, like an internet cafe or a Wi-Fi hotspot, somewhere that will effectively mask their identity. And that, together with the use of a pseudonym or false details, can make it extremely difficult for them to be tracked down.
After meeting Nicola, I began to realise how hard it is to prove a case of trolling. But I also wanted to find out what motivates those people who say they troll. But everyone we spoke to refused to be interviewed, except for one. We had to agree not to reveal his identity.
You've got a distinction, haven't you, between